Hollywood loves an outlaw. Give them a horse, a gun, and a tragic ending, and suddenly a killer becomes a hero. These are 10 outlaws Hollywood turned into legends. Their stories are backed by court records, newspaper accounts, and historians who spent decades separating myth from truth. Before we start, drop a comment and tell us which Old West outlaw you grew up thinking was a hero. Coming in at number 10, we have Belle Starr. Born Myra Maybelle Shirley, in 1848 in Missouri, she was branded the Bandit Queen by dime novels and by a 1941 Hollywood film starring Gene Tierney. The movie portrayed her as a glamorous rebel leading armed raids across the frontier. The reality was far less cinematic. Belle Starr was never convicted of anything more serious than horse theft. She served 2 6-month terms at a federal corrections facility, and her actual criminal career consisted mostly of harboring fugitives and stealing livestock in Indian Territory. After her death in 1889, she was shot in the back on a road near her home in a murder that was never solved. A publisher named Richard K. Fox released a fictional biography called Bella Starr, the Bandit Queen, or the female Jesse James. It was almost entirely fabricated, and it created the legend that Hollywood ran with for the next century. Number 9 is Butch Cassidy. Born Robert Leroy Parker in 1866 in Utah to a Mormon family, Cassidy has been immortalized as a charming, non-violent gentleman robber thanks to the 1969 film starring Paul Newman. The movie opens with the line, "Most of what follows is true." Historians say that is generous. Cassidy and his Wild Bunch gang robbed banks and trains across the West, and while Butch himself preferred to avoid bloodshed, his gang included men like Harvey Kid Curry Logan, who had no such reservations. The Wild Bunch's robberies terrorized communities and triggered one of the largest manhunts in American history, with the Pinkerton Detective Agency deploying thousands of agents. Cassidy fled to South America, and in 1908, he and the Sundance Kid were cornered by Bolivian soldiers after robbing a mining payroll. The charming rogue act ended in a foreign country with no applause. At number 8, Cole Younger. Born in 1844 in Missouri, Younger rode with William Quantrill's Confederate guerrillas during the Civil War, a group responsible for massacres of Union soldiers and civilians. After the war, Younger joined the James Younger Gang and participated in over a dozen bank and train robberies. During the disastrous 1876 raid on the First National Bank in Northfield, Minnesota, the gang killed a bank cashier named Joseph Lee Haywood, who refused to open the safe. Younger was shot 11 times during the escape and captured. He served 25 years in a Minnesota prison. Hollywood consistently portrayed him as a noble Confederate fighting injustice. The court records tell a different story entirely. If you are learning something new, smash that like button and subscribe so you do not miss the rest of this list. Number 7 is Doc Holliday. Born John Henry Holliday in 1851 in Georgia, Holliday earned a dental degree before tuberculosis drove him west. Val Kilmer's iconic 1993 performance in Tombstone turned him into a witty, loyal, cool-headed gunslinger. The real Holliday was known for being hot-tempered and emotionally unstable when drunk. He was arrested multiple times in Dallas for disturbing the peace. Modern researchers have concluded that despite his reputation for killing dozens, Holliday actually killed between 1 and 3 men. His violent legend was built largely on rumors he may have encouraged and on stories that no newspaper account or court record has ever confirmed. Number 6 is the Sundance Kid. Born Harry Alonzo Longabaugh in 1867 in Pennsylvania, the Sundance Kid got his nickname after spending a year in jail in Sundance, Wyoming for stealing horses. The 1969 film presented him as Butch Cassidy's charming best friend. In reality, historians believe his closest partner in crime was actually an outlaw named Elzie Lay, not Sundance. Cassidy's own sister reportedly said the movie had turned her grandfather's friend Lay into the Sundance Kid character. The real Longabaugh was a career criminal who participated in armed robberies across multiple states, and he fled the country to avoid capture. Number 5 is Billy the Kid. Born Henry McCarty around 1859 in New York City, Billy was orphaned at 15 and killed his first man at 18. His confirmed kills sit between 4 and 9, not the 21 that legend claims. Hollywood has made over 50 films about him, almost all portraying a romantic young rebel. The reality is that Billy was a cattle rustler and a killer who became a central figure in the Lincoln County War, a brutal economic feud. He killed 2 deputies while escaping jail before Sheriff Pat Garrett tracked him down and shot him dead at Pete Maxwell's ranch on July 14, 1881. He was 21 years old, desperate, and nothing like the movies showed you. At number 4, Sam Bass. Born in 1851 in Indiana, Bass became famous after robbing a Union Pacific train at Big Springs, Nebraska in 1877, making off with $60,000 in freshly minted gold coins. Newspapers called him the Robin Hood of Texas. Dime novels painted him as a generous outlaw who shared his loot with the poor. No documented evidence supports that claim. Bass was a horse thief and a stagecoach robber who was eventually betrayed by a member of his own gang. He was shot by Texas Rangers during an attempted bank robbery in Round Rock, Texas in July 1878, and he died 2 days later on his 27th birthday. The Robin Hood story was invented by writers who needed a hero. Number 3, Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow became Depression-era icons after the 1967 film turned them into glamorous anti-heroes fighting the system. The truth is that they murdered at least 13 people, including 9 police officers, over a 21-month crime spree. They did not rob major banks. They held up gas stations, small stores, and rural outposts, and their take rarely exceeded $1,500. They beat and sometimes killed robbery victims who resisted. Clyde murdered his first victim on Christmas Day, 1932. Eyewitnesses describe Bonnie as trigger-happy, and on at least 2 occasions, Clyde reportedly had to restrain her from killing people he had not intended to harm. The widow of Highway Patrolman E.B. Wheeler, one of their victims, later said that popular culture made heroes of the gang who killed my husband, and nobody ever thinks about those of us who were left behind. Number 2 is Jesse James. Born in 1847 in Missouri, Jesse James is the original outlaw Hollywood turned into Robin Hood. More than a dozen films have portrayed him as a folk hero who stole from corrupt banks and gave to the poor. There is not a single documented instance of Jesse James giving stolen money to anyone. For 16 years, he and his gang robbed and murdered people across 6 states. During the Civil War, he rode with Bloody Bill Anderson's guerrillas and participated in the Centralia Massacre of 1864, where Confederate irregulars murdered 22 unarmed Union soldiers and then killed and mutilated more than 100 more in battle. His first bank robbery in 1866 resulted in the death of a 17-year-old bystander named George Wymore. The legend was manufactured by newspaper editor John Newman Edwards, a Confederate sympathizer who published letters Jesse wrote and framed him as a Southern freedom fighter. Hollywood inherited the myth and never questioned it. And at number 1, the outlaw Hollywood worked hardest to make into a hero, John Wesley Hardin. Born in 1853 in Texas to a Methodist preacher, Hardin killed his first man at age 15, an ex-slave named Mage, during an argument. His documented kill count sits between 20 and 30, with estimates reaching as high as 42. Many of his victims were black and Mexican men. In 1871, he shot through a hotel wall to kill a man whose snoring annoyed him. He killed multiple people during the Sutton-Taylor feud, including a deputy sheriff on his own 21st birthday. He was sentenced to 25 years in Huntsville Prison, where he studied law and passed the bar. After his release, he was shot in the back of the head by Constable John Selman in an El Paso saloon in 1895. The records tell a very different story, and Hollywood chose the autobiography. These 10 names shaped how we think about the Old West, and almost everything we were taught about them was wrong. The real stories, pulled from court records and stripped of legend, reveal people who were more violent, more desperate, and more human than any movie ever showed you. The dime novels built the myths. Hollywood kept them alive, and now you know what they left out. If this changed how you see the Old West, leave a like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which outlaw surprised you the most. We go deeper into the real frontier every week, and the next one might change everything you thought you knew.